Good day, everybody. So today we're talking about a couple of subjects in relation to decision making. But the principal aspect that I want to talk about is this issue of consensus and conviction. Whether in teams, groups, organizations, there is this push for consensus. We need to have consensus because there's a thought that if we all agree, then things are going to be better. It falls dangerously close to what we call groupthink, which is where everybody starts to think the same. Or more importantly, if you work for an organization and you feel like in order to go along, you have to get along, then you may subvert your own thoughts and beliefs and go along with the majority. Unfortunately, that's how you create a culture where there's very little ingenuity, very little creativity, and thinking is very regimented and controlled. Those organizations are destined to the ash heaps of organizations that no longer innovate, no longer make things better. And sometimes to make things better, you have to think differently. You have to be different. You have to hire people from the outside who aren't confined and controlled by a narrow set of principles. And so consensus can be very beneficial for a team and for an organization. It can absolutely create a team where people respect, like each other, agree on everything. But you have to ask yourself, does that benefit the organization? Conflict is not, contrary to what people think, a negative aspect. And some conflict can certainly be positive in relation that it pushes and encourages people to do things differently. So consensus, in and of itself, is not something that necessarily should be lauded and sought, especially on the major events and the major principles upon which an organization or even a person rests upon. A vigorous and entertaining debate can crystallize an organization to do and be something differently. So consensus is not always the preferred approach. The opposite of consensus is what's called conviction, which means in some way, this is what I believe, and this is what we're going to do. I feel so strongly in what I believe that I will stand against any impediment and any argument that this is what we should do. Margaret Thatcher once said that she doesn't believe in consensus, she believes in conviction. She has a point, determines a point, and then her job as a leader is to convince others of her argument. Sometimes you don't win them all. Conviction doesn't mean that you win everything. But I thought that her point was quite instructive, which means you actually determine what you believe. Then you try to convince others in the righteousness of your belief. That is conviction. So as we talk about decision making, as we talk about how to get along with others, as we talk about teamwork, as we talk about what we want to do and be in our life, remember the differences between consensus and conviction. And remember when it's okay to have a consensus agreement. And similarly, where it can be catastrophic to your circumstances if you do not stand up for what you believe and what you think. And that is the nature of conviction. Knowing when consensus and knowing when conviction should rule the day is certainly a challenge, and the best happen to get it right. But the most important part is do your research, know what you believe, know where you want to go, and then force an argument to whatever circumstances you're in to make sure that they understand that your way is the best way, and that's conviction. Everybody, something to think about. We'll think about other things as the week goes on. Have a good one.